Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Suzanne from La Petite Whisk. This is our third video on day 33 of quarantine. I am really missing teaching my classes in person, but doing these baking videos has been an awesome way to stay connected with everybody. And I absolutely love hearing from everyone and seeing the pictures of the things that you've been baking. Specifically the people that have made the wacky cake and the world peace cookies. That is fantastic. Please keep sending me that stuff. Today, what we're going to make in this video is a little French tea cake called a Madeleine. Now, the Madeleine is known for its very distinctive shell shape on one side, and on the other side, it has a hump or like a knuckle bump. Now, this particular cookie or this little tea cake originated in the Lorraine region of France, and the story behind it is that in the 19th century, there was a chef who was baking for the King of France, and he got incredibly frustrated and stormed out during dinner, leaving no dessert. So the assistant chef decided to create something. So she created this little tea cake, and the King of France loved it so much that he named it after her, and her name was Madeleine. So we have the Madeleine cookies. Now, these little tea cakes became incredibly popular after the writer Marcel Proust referenced them in his novel, The Remembrance of Things Past. So why don't you grab your apron and join me in the kitchen as we make these fantastic little tea cakes. Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to actually make the classic Madeleine, which is a lemon Madeleine. But with a lot of other recipes, you can certainly tailor this to flavors that you like. If you don't like lemon, you could absolutely do an orange zest, or you could use vanilla instead, maybe add some mini chocolate chips. You can certainly play around with this recipe. But we're going to start with the classic. So for my ingredients, what we have our granulated sugar, we have brown sugar, we have eggs, honey, all-purpose flour, baking powder. We'll do a pinch of salt, and I like to use kosher salt. We have some melted butter that goes in, and as well as our lemon zest and then some lemon juice. Now, when you're making Madeleines, do you remember that I'd mentioned that the classic Madeleine or the distinctive Madeleine has got like that nice shell shape? So you really want to use a Madeleine pan. And I will put an Amazon link to this pan in the description below, as well as the recipe for the Madeleines will be in the description below as well. The great thing about this recipe is that you do not need a mixer for it. You just need your bowl, you need a whisk, and a spatula. So to get started, our sugar is going to go in our bowl, as well as our honey. Get our honey in there. Already getting messy. Our honey is in there, our sugar, our honey. I'm going to do a pinch of salt, in a nice healthy pinch, like not like something little. And then our eggs. Really important that your eggs are room temperature here. And now we whisk everything together. So we are going to whisk this until our sugar melts and the mixture gets pretty smooth. But also our eggs are going to start to be pale and they're going to start to be thick. Okay, so this looks good. Looks like our sugar is pretty well melted. Our eggs are starting to get a little pale, and it's starting to thicken up just a little bit, and that's fine. That's just what we want. So now we want to add our lemon zest in here. So I'm just going to zest a lemon. I like to use a whole lemon for this recipe. And this is where if you wanted to instead use a lime or use an orange, you could absolutely just zest that right in there. And we're also going to add our lemon juice. So we'll just give this a quick mix. All right, now we're going to add our flour. So we'll set that aside. Now, we actually want to sift our flour in just to eliminate any bump or any clumps that might be in there. And so I've added my baking powder on top, and we sift the two together. This also aerates our flour. And now we're just going to fold that mixture in. Fold that flour in. And you'll see it'll start to get a little thick from the flour. Okay, once your flour is all combined, now we add our butter, which is our last ingredient. And it's melted butter. Okay, so our butter is added, and now we're just going to mix that in. All right, once our butter is all combined, you can see now this batter actually has to rest for about an hour in the fridge. So this is a perfect time to take a break, go take your dogs for a walk, just go do something else. The cool thing also about this batter is you just cover it, put it in the fridge, and if you did not have time to bake the Madeleines off today, this batter will be fine to use it tomorrow if you wanted to. So we're just going to cover it up, throw it in the fridge. See you guys in an hour. Okay, it has been a minimum of an hour. And again, like I had mentioned, you could absolutely save this batter over to the next day, but we want to make our Madeleines today. So you notice here it's been an hour and our batter has completely thickened up. It's chilled and it's thickened. That is exactly what we want. Now, our Madeleine pan, the Madeleines tend to stick a little bit when you bake them, so I highly recommend greasing your Madeleine pan and even putting a little bit of flour on it. I actually like to grease it with like softened butter. So I'll soften some butter, and then, you know, you just kind of paint each of the little shells in there, and then you can dust it with a little bit of flour. If you want, you can buy like the cooking spray, and there is a cooking spray that has flour in it, and then you can just spray these, and that's totally fine. So to get the batter into these molds, you can certainly use spoons and just kind of spoon it in. You're going to use, I think it's probably about like 1.5 tablespoons of batter per little well. But I tend to be a disaster in the kitchen, so I like to use a piping bag when I can because it makes things so much easier. It's a little bit faster and it's a lot neater. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll just put all of my batter into my piping bag. Ooh, nice and thick. And it smells a little lemony. Now I used lemon juice, and it was fresh lemon juice. I don't like to use the stuff in the plastic bottle. But if you feel like you're not getting enough of a lemon flavor and you really like lemon, a couple things you can do. You can certainly use a lemon extract, but also after these cookies are baked, you can make like a lemon glaze and you can dip them in the lemon glaze. And that's just like lemon juice and confectioner sugar mixed together. So, all right, so I have my batter. Now, really important that these cookies, that we only actually fill these wells 3/4 of the way full. So, like I said, it's probably like 1.5 tablespoons, but let me just show you. When you're piping, I just kind of go down and back, and that's about it. And then I don't even worry about flattening it out because when it goes into the oven, it'll flatten out on its own. So, whoops, let's just kind of fill some of these guys and get them in the oven. Now, for Madeleines, what we look for is, like I had mentioned, that beautiful hump. that's going to be on the top, and it's called like a knuckle bump. And the way we get that knuckle bump is by having a nice hot oven and a cold batter. So what happens is we're going to put this cold batter, and sometimes I'll even chill my pan. So we put a chilled pan, cold batter, into a hot oven, and then the outsides of the batter is going to start to heat up and cook and set. But that cold batter that's in the middle is going to burst up through the top. And that is what gives us our nice little knuckle bump. Now in my oven, it tends to be about, I like to bake them at 375 degrees. I feel like that gives me a really nice knuckle bump. But you also got to be careful because the shell part is going to turn brown, and we want that to be brown, and we want the top to be light. So there will be a difference. You don't want the entire cookie to be the same color. Your top with the bump is definitely going to be a lot lighter. But if you feel like your bottom is getting too browned, then what you can do is, I like to just put this in the oven as is, but you could certainly put it on like a sheet pan in the oven, and that'll protect the bottom a little bit so it doesn't get as brown. But you can also play around with the temperature. 375 degrees works great for me, but these cookies can actually be baked as high as 400, and you can get a really nice knuckle bump. I bake mine 375 for 10 minutes. Again, if you bake them at like 400, then you might not bake them for 10 minutes. I would start to check them at like 8 minutes. And to check and see if they're done, it's simply you're going to touch the top, and as long as they spring back, you know that they're done. So we're going to put these right into the oven, and then 10 minutes later, we will have delicious Madeleines. Our Madeleines are out of the oven. They baked for about 10 minutes. And the way that I knew that they were done was when I touched the top, they just gently sprang back. So if you look on the bottom, they're nicely browned, and on the top, like I had mentioned, they're still going to be pale in color, which is exactly what we want. And you can see that we have those nice little knuckle bumps that we got from the cold batter going into the hot oven. And then on the bottom, we have the beautiful scallop distinction from our pan, which is fantastic. Now, these Madeleines are, they're best enjoyed within like 2 days. You want to store them in an airtight container. I think they're absolutely fantastic with coffee. In France, you will find them all over. People will be enjoying them in the morning with their coffee or their tea, or again, even in the afternoon with their coffee or with their tea. And I know that everybody is working from home during this time, so I hope that you do find time to make these Madeleines and then take a break during the day. Have a cup of tea and have some Madeleines. And if you have kids at home and they're not fans of lemon, what I would do is omit the lemon altogether, add a teaspoon of vanilla, and throw some mini chocolate chips in there. And now you have like an upscale French chocolate chip cookie, which would be absolutely fantastic. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like it. And also, if you want to see more videos, then please subscribe. And keep in touch, stay safe, stay well, and then together we can make the world a better place. Thanks, bye!